Hell and holy, one and the same? No, it's not. Hell of holy, pertaining to the priest. Yes, pertaining to priest and all the mess with all that, right? Before I get into this, like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app as well. You might in fact want to get those two and combine them together. We have various apps pertaining to what you might want to watch. Sit and watch and all the rest, right? But yeah, the scandal of the priest and say those that were in fact victims, the abuse of power with that sort of thing. Catholic priest and them say taking advantage of, yes, young innocent victims and all the rest, and then just going on about their business, right? That sort of thing been going on for years on end, and then you had some people that in fact knew about that sort of thing, never even said anything, as in allow it to bypass your eyes, which is why too some of that mess in fact, yes, go undetected as well. Because to never speak up and say who's molesting who and raping, even in the four walls of wherever, with this Catholic priest ordeals, to say that sort of thing is going to be there, as in the scandal comes out later. When somebody is more vocal, just enough to speak up and say that sort of thing is wrong, taking advantage of people, putting your hands on people that's much more younger than you, and then just whatever. Thinking they gonna be healthy, wholesome, and healed once it's all over and said and done. While the scandal is swept underneath the rug. So, yes, sex abuse victims are speaking out even more since the news broke of hundreds of pedophile priests being free to walk free, following a temperamental situation involving a grand jury investigation in which charged various individuals. Did you get that? Various individuals consider a decades-long cover-up involving the Roman Catholic Church. Is this a truth or a lie? Am I, with the topic and discussion of what I'm speaking on, is this a real or a fable? I'll allow you, the viewer, to tell me. So, because once again, many people in fact sweep that sort of thing up under a rug, hoping it's going to become a fable in itself and never be discovered. That's a mess in itself. That's completely yes. So a Pennsylvania report claimed more than 300 clergymen, yes, the priest and all the rest. A Pennsylvania report claimed more than 300 clergymen, priests and all the rest preyed on at least 1,000 of the state's children for more than 50 years. These clergymen, priests, and all the rest preyed on at least 1,000 of the state's children for more than 50 years. This is totally unbelievable what's going on in the world today. They were the state's children and not really nobody else's. When the state takes possession of some children, that's messed up. That's to say they're more easy liable to be preyed on. The state's children. Because to say that a mother and father or whoever else, right, ain't able to really watch over, protect, and guide, direct their child, is to say somebody is going to come along with power and all the rest with that, yes, and take advantage of some young children that ain't going to know that it's coming, I'm saying. That's sick in itself. In the mind, I'm saying. They need to be put up under the grave. It's said that several clergymen doped up boys and girls, young boys and girls. Yes, it's said that several clergymen, priests and all the rest, doped up boys and girls with alcohol before raping them. As others abused, yes, their power to molest these troubled teens. And while they were doing all this, the clergymen, the priests, and all the rest were acting as mentors to these young kids. You see what I'm going with this? To be troubled, and you're a young teen, and you're not a young adult, to be a troubled child, It's to know you're going to need a mentor, such as guidance and all the rest. And that's what these clergymen, priests, and all the rest use to their advantage to take care of these troubled children. That's sick in itself. Die off. As in I need to say that. They in fact do need to burn. With that, it's reported the church itself silenced families. See what I'm saying? The church itself, as reported, the church itself silenced families and children with confidentiality agreements. I'm under one myself. More than likely, many of them, right? I myself, not pertaining to no mess like this, but even with Discovery, yes, and Oprah Winfrey's with that, right? So I know how confidentiality agreements work, what you can say and what you can't say on and off screen and even in person, right? But yeah, the church itself silenced families and children with confidentiality agreements, and the priests who were abusive were sent to treatment facilities. The priests, yes, who were abusive were sent to treatment facilities before the known offenders were allowed to return to ministry, to only target more victims once they return back. That's messed up. That's a science in itself. It's calling out dumb fucks. Where even the priest and the clergymen sit. Not all of them. Not the ones that, I'm speaking on the ones that abuse, not the other ones. Respect to even they game with that sort of thing. But I don't agree with the ones that are abusive. Silencing children of all things in the families with the confidentiality agreement. That sort of thing you use when you're up under bind it with a Discovery or something to handle and take care of business and not just be abusing victims with that sort of thing. The abuse of power is really real these days and age. I'm gonna rewind back. These abusive priests who were abusive to all these children and all the rest. And yes, and when you bind somebody and put them under confidentiality agreement, as in silencing the family down, that's to say you abuse the families as well. So these abusive priests, they were sent to treatment facilities before the known offenders were allowed to return to ministry, to only target more victims. You go back and you target even more victims? How sick and sad. Within almost all of the cases overlooked and examined by prosecutors, the statutes of limitations had run out. Within almost all of the cases overlooked and examined by prosecutors, the statute of limitations had run out, which in the end leads to the accused not being brought. What justice? They in fact need to be up under the grave, up under that grave, and up under that grave as well. These priests and these clergymen doing all this, and no, not all of them, but the ones that's guilty, I need to stand firm with even saying that, calling them out, and not being a smooth operator with that, calling them out, because they might in fact need to be hung as well. Hung, put to death, yes, with that. Because they ain't serving. Because see, what more likely what those individuals is doing is sneaking around and preying on other individuals, and yet nobody knows that it's happening. They could be doing that sort of thing in their neighborhood and nobody knows it's happening outside of the church and the four walls of mass and all the rest. That's why I'm saying that they need to in fact die as and be put to death as well. Guilty priests and clergymen doing that sort of thing. Because to know you could have gotten over under a confidentiality agreement and all the rest and silencing these children and their families, it's to say you're the same type of individual to sneak outside and be sneaking amongst some children while they're at the playground and all the rest, and school and all the rest, and be fondling even them and all that, and not allowing them to say. That's the worst and whack in itself. Because see, the reason why I'm saying that is to not fear that you're in church or a part of a church and you do that sort of thing, and yet you have no fear in front of the eyes of God, is to say a man like that will go anywhere and take care, and take advantage of anybody at any time. If a Catholic priest or clergyman or whatever he chooses a dumb fuck like to call himself, if he has no fear of God, know that God is looking at him and watching him molesting and preying on those young children in the form of pedophilia, if he has no respect for even God himself or even the church, right? With none of that is to say that type of individual will go anywhere and prey on any other type of child outside and possibly not even underneath God's eyes or something, and yet they say God sees all, and yet you're part of a church, which show you have no respect for God at all, right? These Catholic priests with that. It's to say more than likely there's more victims out there, and yet those victims ain't saying, and yet they more than likely are not part of the church. They're just innocent victims just passing you and I along on the street. Possibly could even be as old as I am sitting here. I'm almost 40 years old, and yet many of them victims more than likely ain't saying. They might not even have been a part of the church. I can see that sort of thing happening. So the priests don't fear God with that sort of thing. These guilty priests and the guilty clergymen don't fear God and taking advantage of these young innocent victims. So you don't fear God knowing that you're connected to a church. That's to say you don't fear at all. You don't fear at all. You're more than likely raping and molesting all type of people once again when nobody's around. I see and I know that. As in eyes can tell, as in do tell from my end to even theirs. Sad and sick. I think that's all to be said for now. You the viewer, tell me how you feel about that sort of thing with these priests doing all that with the scandal. Stuff like that can only be hidden for so long. I'm saying even sometimes victims ain't gonna stand for that sort of thing, because even victims are known to be tormented to the grave, knowing that some grown man stuck some whatever peeny weenie up his butthole while he was a child and the grown man was a priest, dressed up in the priest suit and all that, trying to impress everybody with his priestlyhood, and yet taking advantage of kids. Some people they choose not to stay quiet with that sort of thing. That ain't gonna ever work. That does nothing for humanity or society as a whole, as in they need to be gotten rid of as well if they ain't practicing right in the priestlyhood. The dumb fuck losers. Them priests over there. Because what they do, they make all priests look bad, as in making all priests, yes, in fact, look completely bad, when many priests, in fact, have the good intentions and good heart of other individuals, right? You make those people look bad. They don't want to stand next to you either. I know if I was a priest, I wouldn't want to stand. I would more likely move up out of the room and possibly go somewhere else. And more likely, if I feel like I'm looking too bad being connected to a priest and all the Roman Catholic stuff with the church and them type of priests making me look bad, I might in fact change my religion to something else or create my own or something like that. So yeah, homicide, Hunter, Lieutenant Joe Kenda. The description is right here, recommended for you. ID logo sits above, right? Live now, The Killer Beside Me. You can add these shows, even with the description, to your favorites if you like to. Yes, you can. Shouts out to Paula. So, Deadly Women, Red Rum, The Shining, but not completely, right? That's an off-brand. Loose string from my end to those that failed to recognize. American Monster, Blood Relatives, Something You Thought You Knew, The Perfect Murder. Unlocked episodes, To Catch a Killer, Season 1, Episode 1. The description is right here. Add to watch later if you would like to. Just click that right there. You can also click this for a preview. That's why it's sitting there. Let me go back. I catched that real quick. Did you see me catch that? Because it was trying to play. I accidentally clicked it by accident. Something like that. This is all previews, a preview on a preview. On last night, Twisted Sisters, all this. To click this is a sign in, yes, with your provider, and you would in fact be announced on that, as in you will be allowed to see what goes on behind that. Because to not do that sort of thing, provide your providers to say you're gonna be locked out. That's why the lock key is there. So I'm thinking that's all to be said for now. ID original series. Pamela Smart. Let me just zoom through. I keep clicking stuff by accident. Why is that? Something ain't set up right on my end. Schedule preview. Home Alone, and I don't mean yes. Macaulay Culkin. Wasn't that Michael Jackson's one of his best friends at one time? That ain't real either. I'm speaking on Michael Jackson, where people like to question even that pertaining to molestation, right? No, not real. No. Crime Feed News. I just threw that in because of Home Alone right there, right? And yet it fits where it sticks, right? Crime Feed News, if you click this, it's going to in fact direct you to the outside, to the crimefeed.com, to let you know who done committed what crimes, why, and what, and even bizarre stories and the crazy with that. To want to be a part of a member of the newsletter is to, yes, sign in. Well, not sign in, but put your email address right here. And click next with that, and you will in fact be a part, yes, of the family with that sort of thing. Somewhat slightly, yes, you will get a chance to know what is going on with investigation discovery is all I'm trying to say. So I think that's all for now. But yeah, that sort of thing ain't gonna ever work with those type of people sitting amongst us. These scandal with this Roman Catholic Church sort of ordeal, because see, what that will make family members and all the rest that have young children, that will make those sort of people say somewhat like slightly move away with that sort of thing. As in possibly, yeah, I said that already, practice something else, go somewhere else, because to know that those sort of individuals don't respect the children within the community of the Roman Catholic Church, to say that you don't respect those type of children is to say they're more likely going to leave, and yet many family members, they in fact don't. They stay around. And they keep it on the hush and keep it hidden and keep it low, which is why the priest and the clergymen are allowed to get over and off on people over and over again. Because see, some people a lot of times look more so at the title, more so of the abuser, than they do who's doing the abusing, which is why people are allowed to get away with that sort of thing, molesting and raping children, and nobody ever saying it, even in the church. Because I'm guessing and believing even some of that had to be going down in the bathroom stall. And I can sense that. I sensed that even years back. Some of these Catholic priests or whatever was dragging and raping these young boys, and more likely girls as well, in bathroom stalls. Is that or is that not? And more than likely too in their offices, if they had offices, because you do have a priest and stuff like that, clergymen that have offices, so they'll be raping a young boy on a desk or something crazy like that where nobody knows, is to say that's a mess in itself. And yet families that are a part of that sort of thing, that's almost like becoming a secret society as well, as in a do tell from my end to even theirs, as in where people didn't speak up enough, knowing it was going on, and yet you respect the title just enough to not even say, well, you know, children in our church is in fact being raped and molested, because the children in the end are going to suffer in the end, as in their mind is going to be messed up and even warped with that, not knowing whether they like grown men or women in the end. There's psychology up underneath that is what I'm saying, where a priest or a clergyman takes advantage, and then one day you grow up, take advantage of you sexually and possibly in the four walls of a church and nobody's having it. And when you grow up one day, you don't even know what you being a little boy, you being molested, not knowing whether you like grown men or girls or something. That's what that sort of thing leads to in the end. And then by the time the child grows up and then say, well, I think I'm gay or I think I'm whatever, then the family wants to turn against him or her with even that, knowing or not knowing that the child was raped or molested by a Catholic priest. And then they want to say, oh, well, you're going to hell. The family, I'm saying, many families with churches and all that, bypassing that some of these grown individuals are raping and molesting people. And sometimes there's even music directors that's gay that be doing that sort of thing, even outside of Catholic churches. More so in the black churches as well. And then these young boys grow up that done been raped and molested by the music director. With that sort of thing, grow up and the boy was molested. Now he's gay, and now everybody want to tell him in the black church he's going to hell. So I look at all races with this, black as well as white and all the rest, right? Nationalities too, right? It's to say, pay attention when your child is even in church, because you don't know what is happening and why and the reasons with these public figures. Because even with the Bishop Eddie Long, everybody know who he is, Bishop Eddie Long. With that, him having young lovers and all that, that points in too, despite him being black and him dying the way that he did, right? They say every soul is lost. I'm thinking in guilt, maybe, and dying so sudden is quick, right? That's messed up. Somebody more than likely, I can tell you with even that, somebody more than likely will look at that man's position, either one of either race, nationality, figure, or whatever, and look at the title as they're representing their own title, priest or whoever, clergyman or Bishop Eddie Long, look at his title and say, well, he has a title, so let's just ignore the fact that he is what he is. No, fuck all that. Because even individuals are known, young kids are known to grow up one day and feel suicidal with that sort of thing. Grow up and feel suicidal because of being taken advantage of, and then everybody acting like they don't know what happened and why. As in bypassing him or her, the one that was taken advantage of. That's whack in itself. I'm saying society, which could be why I be angry and bitter and not wanting to be around those type of individuals. And why should I? They're losers as well. Did I say Bishop Eddie Long? Well, if he did it, more likely too, right? As well as with these Roman Catholic Church priests and clergymen with that. I don't want that around me, sitting around me. Because next thing I said already, what I'm going to have to hear is, well, you know, little Johnny is going to go to hell and face hell and rot in hell with that because he's gay now. And yet you failed to notice that whoever was molesting him and banging out his booty hole, where even that's messed up. Which is why many of these grown men sometimes that turn out being gay after all that has happened, how many of them in fact end up with HIV and AIDS. Because they get with all random lovers all time of the day, flipping back and forth between lovers to get with them, right? To try to find somebody to love them after they done been taken advantage of. They get HIV and AIDS because after that sort of thing, sometimes they don't have respect for themselves. The victims, I'm saying. They become gay. And they get with random other men once they grow up and get to having multiple sex partners, such as being promiscuous and all that. Which, in fact, in the end, sometimes leads to HIV and AIDS with the epidemic with that. And some people can't point back. Well, how is these young men, you know, why are they dying of HIV and AIDS? Sometimes they were molested and taken advantage of by grown men that either looked like them or was of a different race. In a church, at a church, connected to a church, or sometimes not even being of that title, such as a priest or a minister or bishop or music director or all the rest within the four walls of a church, but sometimes just being connected to the church as a member, right? That's how gay males sometimes in fact become gay and not the other way around, and how they die of HIV and AIDS while they're pushed off to the grave by even their own family loved ones saying, well, I wish you hell with that. Burn in hell because you're gay. And they don't even understand the science, as in science is that many of them don't even question enough to understand, well, why is he gay to begin with? Because he was silenced in the process, or she was silenced in the process. That's what it leads to in the end, the ending turmoil and the devastation with that. So many people in these churches need to stop telling people who's going to hell and pick up something, a book outside of just the Bible, and trying to analyze and pick apart like I do to see why people are the way that they are. Helps to not be foolish in life. I'm saying. That's all to be said about this. So yeah, to the viewer, drop a dime on the line and let me know, because I don't like none of this. There's all type of people around us that's dying of HIV and AIDS with that sort of thing. They could no longer respect themselves and look at themselves in the mirror knowing that some grown man laid up with them forcefully with that sort of thing. No, not all gay men are that way because of that sort of thing, but yes, a huge percentage is. So I just say that even that sort of thing. I'm gone for now. With that.